Welcome back to Let God Podcast. We hope y'all are doing well. It's me, Mary Hannah.
Me, Ayanfe.
And me, Wanipa.
Yeah. So
Reloader!
So as you can tell, we're in a very bubbly mood, I guess you could put it. That's because y'all just make us laugh with these here relationship questions y'all asking for. So yes, if you haven't guessed, this week's episode is on relationships. And a little quick disclaimer, I'm gonna speak for myself. Actually, I'm gonna speak for all three of us. We are not well versed in this such area.
Yeah, I can't lie. When it comes to giving advice, it might be a bit tough because we're all very much single and we always have been. Me personally, I've just been in a number of failed talking stages. So that's all I can offer you.
Me personally, I don't like.
She really doesn't. She's not playing.
She actually been so serious, you all.
But before we get into the tea, should we pray?
Yeah. Dear Lord, we pray that in this episode you just help us to try and give advice as best as possible. That you help us to just really speak to the people who are listening and to laugh, to make people think, and to just share our experiences, and that you speak through us as well. We pray that you help us to form good, godly relationships with people all around us, whether it's from friends, from family, to partners, and that you just help us, and like everything we do will be through you and for you. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen.
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 So,
Amen.
should we start with, I guess, setting the groundwork? I'm gonna laugh because it's not funny, but it's absolutely hilarious. Setting the groundwork of who here is in a relationship. I am single.
Are you ready to mingle? Let's just clarify, because on the anonymous submissions form, y'all was really asking about MH.
For Mary Hannah, not the rest
MH.
of us.
Yeah.
We see
you, you haters.
We will find you.
So you guys wanted to know, is MH single? Yes, but is she ready to mingle?
No. I'm just a no.
To be found out next episode.
A bunch of men just put down their swords. They were ready to fight for her love.
They just clicked off.
They said there's nothing for me here anymore. They said it's the accent from me.
Yeah, they're looking for my trouble. They're literally looking for my trouble, these girls. But yeah, that's my current situation. Single, not ready to mingle. I'm cool. I'm straight. So, you girls?
Ayanfe?
I am very single. Been single.
Oh, child.
Don't say, oh, child. The market out here is dry. It's fine.
Dry. Inadequate. Whoop.
Let me not talk too much.
Are you ready to mingle, Ayanfe?
If you meet the criteria.
Which is long.
Said you need to be 6'9".
Oh my.
Anyways, me personally, I'm a single, very single, recently unentangled.
Oh, please don't.
I'm so sorry.
No, let me not say that. It wasn't even an entanglement. It's cool. We friends now. Woo, friends. In terms of ready to mingle, it's really a thing where there are criteria. I'm not gonna lie to you. And in this UK, let me even stop there. Let me just stop there.
Well, yeah, so that's where we're currently at. And we've just got like questions and just general discussions we want to have about relationships. But I think we wanted to start first with, okay, we've mentioned criteria. What do you like? Do you want to share maybe your criteria? Not anything like, I mean, you can be as vain or as honest as you want, but like genuine, like this is something that I'm like very uncompromising with in my partner.
Uncompromising.
Faith.
Mine are mostly like, faith, definitely.
Yeah.
And like ambition or the general stuff. But like not, if I was to say like not the basic stuff, mine would be someone that doesn't get angry too easily or has like anger issues. or people who love to argue for no reason. No.
She said no.
She said,
No.
I don't want something I've seen. No, I'm just laughing because she was literally telling us about this. She was like, I don't like men who talk too much. I said, why do you say that?
But in terms of like face, the thing is, like most people that know me, like they'll be like, I can imagine your wedding day, but I can't imagine your husband. Like what color, what height, what
color?
Yeah. So sorry, mama.
Do you know what? Like, just to honestly keep it real, Ayanfe likes a pretty man.
She does.
She likes a pretty, like, you can't be coming to her looking scruffy, not just pretty in
No
terms of
medium
Yeah,
genetics.
she doesn't do that at all.
She doesn't like medium ugly men, which is, I do like a little medium ugly man once in a while, you know. That's kind of my, she said no. She
That's
likes
not
the
Ayanfe's
eyelashes
MO.
long and thick.
Yeah.
She likes the eyes a
Eyelash.
bit sparkly.
Yes, that's what she really likes. Like,
Yeah,
she even
that's
sent
what-
us into
that's
the
her
group chat.
flavor.
She said, or she sent it to me. She said she likes men who, you know, the little emoji that we all
The
girls
cute
use.
face emoji.
The cute face.
I'm shy.
Yes, she likes
She
the
likes the
men with
eyes like
those.
that.
Yeah,
With them
yeah,
glistening eyes.
yeah. That's what she likes. And hair just like perfect in whatever regard, whether it's a
She's
trim.
a defo like a waves babe, like rather than like a twist or dreads.
Oh
kind
no,
of.
you better not come at her with that. You try to
No,
disgrace yourself.
she's not having any of that. She said your hairline better be sharp.
No, period.
Your waves better be
Yes.
swimming.
You better be groomed.
Yeah.
Be groomed. Clean fingernails.
Oh,
That's what she likes. That's what we all
we
like.
all
child. Let me
like,
just-
honey.
Clean shoes.
Yeah, none of that Cambridge mess, dirty and muddy. Are you silly, fam?
As
Wash your
in
shoes.
cycling to lectures and your shoes is scattered.
Dirty. They should not even try me.
She said dirty and screaming. What about you, MH? What's your type? I will just caveat this with Michael Todd did tell us to rip up our list. However, listen, he didn't tell us to rip up our standards. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's true. And my type is not God. Let's just put that out here. You gotta have a list of where you're gonna be moving left and right and upside down. So I think yeah. But anyway, me
Period.
I have a type, but that's more like face wise. And that's kind of irrelevant. That does not need to be disclosed here. Anyway.
She doesn't want to expose herself.
I do not.
Some people sliding back in saying, I heard you you like that
I think you described me.
I heard you talking about me on your little podcast.
Oh my gosh. They're trying to
I
really
was
look
gonna
for my
say, hey little
trouble.
mama. How about character-wise then? We won't
Character-wise.
expose your preference.
Character-wise, I like men who don't. I like men who aren't too friendly. I realize that's something that it's not a recent revelation. When I went on holiday with one of my close friends last year, we had this discussion, and because I've always been single, I think it would be difficult for me to adjust to someone who has an extensive relationship history, which is not something that I can hold against anyone, of course, and whoever my partner ends up being, and whatever history that comes with them, I trust that God will help me to be open with them. But in terms of like, I always say my man can't have social media. I'm not a social media too much babe.
Yeah. She would like someone
off.
anonymous.
Yes, very like nobody. I don't like the whole idea of being bait. Like that just really makes me feel some type of way.
Imagine dating a Twitter boy.
Not even that. Just like people like if you were like if you, I don't know, like saying, oh, my boyfriend goes to this uni, and they'd be like, oh, who is he? And like everyone would know who that person is. That just makes me feel some type of way. Like, I don't think people could say, oh, do you know Mary Hannah? And then people would be like, yes, if I came to Cambridge, unless you were black and were part of the ACS. Like, that's
no,
the
people
only way.
that Mary Hannah, you are known in the
No,
in the CBT. You
not
are. Everyone's like, oh, that's Southern Belle. Mary Hannah.
That's what Wanipa's doing. It's not, guys, she's exaggerating. It's not. I'm not known like that at all. Unless you go to my uni, you won't really know me. But I don't like that. So character-wise, in terms of like Christ, they're very like simple things. I think it's really important that like your husband is gentle, as Ayanfe said. I was thinking about my dad. Like, I've never been afraid of my dad ever. Like my parents like did discipline my sister and I like in more like traditional ways. So like spankings, they never beat us or anything like that. Crazy, like ever, like anything that would be considered abuse. but like I've never been afraid of my dad. Like he's never moved suddenly, and I've like jerks, and I really value that like safety I feel with him. And yeah, I think it's just like what my dad has modeled for my sister and I, like very like servant's heart, sacrificial, like someone who I don't like people who can men who feel like their boys are the be all end all. I can't deal with that. And especially within like a Christian context, like if your boys are all like X amount, like maybe 27, and they've just bought nice Mercedes or Tesla or something really nice, but that's not the position God has put you in, or something that God has been like, yeah, you can do that. Go and like bless yourself, enjoy this. I don't like people feel the pressure that they need to do things to have a
Play up to
specific
the
status.
boys.
Yeah, I
Image
can't deal with
gang.
that. Like that's why I say I like my men anonymous. Just like you do you. Not too many people need to know when they meet you, and it's cool. But you're not like best friends with everybody, hugging everybody. You always in somebody's Twitter like something. No, be quiet. Love the Lord. Be gentle and sweet and humble. I want somebody who reminds me of Jesus. Period. That's just it.
Period.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Amen.
But that was quite long.
Amen.
But yeah. What about you, honey, Wanipa? She's been real quiet over here.
Child, let me not talk too much. I'm not gonna go through anything aesthetic because I feel like 2020 is really a year for change. So I'm leaving that behind. Also, like, obviously you guys know, like, jokingly I'm on this heightest agenda. But I was literally saying this to someone the other day, like, have my past few MCMs even touched 5'10"?
Oh my Lord.
You said 5'10". I thought you were gonna say 6 foot.
Oh no, child.
Not even.
Not even. So no one can even say I'm heightest because like in reality it's one of them. In terms of character, I really like people who are funny. Like I feel like I'm always cracking jokes and stuff, and if you're just there one wallflower, we're like, why are you being quiet for? Like speak up. Open your mouth. But I also don't like them people who feel like they need to be the funniest in the room. Like, also, why are you always talking? Do you know what I mean? I really hate with a passion, cannot stand toxic masculinity.
Oh yes.
Whether it's like the LinkedIn warrior type of toxic masculinity, whether it's the lads toxic masculinity, like it's so gross and embarrassing. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, shut up. Like, there's people who will actually live and die for their like just go marry your boys at the end of the day. Marry your brethrens because that's what you love. You know what I mean? Obviously Christian, like we said that at the start, we've been you. I also just want someone who's like a little bit fashion and edgy, but also like, you know, has other sides to them. I feel like someone who's ambitious for definite, like if you've not got anything going for you, then deuces. It's honestly just like that's lovely for someone else, but as for me and my household, we don't do that.
No.
So you definitely have to have something going on. If my dad was here, he would say he has to be in my future tax bracket, but
we gonna keep that for another conversation.
Yeah, that's another convo. I'm not gonna say that because there are people who are in very noble professions who just genuinely don't get paid enough. So, see.
I think what you said about ambition just reminds me of, I don't know who said it, but it's just very valid because I think sometimes there's the right balance of like you can't come necessarily like with a whole list to God and be like, okay, God, you're a genie, co-sign this in my dark chocolate handsome Barbie looking model. Somebody something or the other is gonna come and sweep me off my feet, you know, and that's just what it's gonna be. But at the same time, God gave Adam a job before he gave him a bride. And I feel
it's
like
even true.
People not hearing
Some of you are
it.
approaching me jobless.
Like, guys, like sometimes they're really not hearing it. So I think there's space to caveat like people's not preferences, that's not the word, we'll talk about that, but people's like requirements and criteria with the fact that this is not just plucked out of the air. Like that is actually a biblical principle. Like you don't have to have everything all together, but God did
but at least
put Adam to work to literally name all of the animals and everything that has life on earth before he gave him a helper. So be pursuing your purpose before you looking for me, because otherwise we don't have smoke.
Period. There won't even be smoke because I can't entertain you in the first place.
That's
to even
so
start
true.
Smelling the smoke.
That's true. There'll be no fire kindled.
As She said there will be no Tinder. There will be no spark. Guys, I just remembered something else. Like, I feel like it kind of comes with the toxic masculinity thing. Obviously, like misogyny. I didn't even mention that one because
Oh,
that was just
it's a
a
given.
no go. Period.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like men who feel like they have to have a certain role and women have to have a certain role, as in I know men like uncles and stuff who will never cook, will never
Oh,
clean, nothing of the sort. And
wow.
it's literally not because they can't, it's out of principle. Like they just think, oh, the man is the head of the da da da, he can't do this. Meanwhile, is my dad not waking up at 6 a.m. before he starts work to go and run and clean the house? He cooks for my mum because she works in the NHS, so she's tired when she gets home. He don't, does that make him any less of a man?
If not,
Ciao.
does not make him more. Somebody who's willing to
If,
put lay his pride aside and put his family first as he should. Like people, it's
period. People just don't really be seeing marriage as a partnership anymore, but that's a
yeah.
conversation for a different day.
Talking about like parents and things. I think our parents got married. I think to some probably relatively young and had different criteria to what our generation has. How do you guys feel about like a time? I think we spoke about this a little bit before we started recording, but like having a time scale for love and like being like, I want to be married by like 25 and I want to have my first kid at like 27 and all of that.
I think it's very hard to put a time scale. Personally, I don't know if I'll be in this country for too long.
No, period.
but but just in general, like you can't, because then you're trying to push certain agendas that might not be what's for you. Like if you're 24 and you're in a relationship, you're like, I want to be married by 25. You won't let a breakup happen
You actually will
because
keep it in
you
relationship
won't.
by force. Yeah. Yeah, I
And
definitely
even
agree.
kids is a tricky one as well because it might not be God's will
That's
Yeah,
true.
at that time.
it's even true. Yeah, I think we kind of mentioned this in the prosperity gospel episode, but it's just like we make all these plans for ourselves which are just so arbitrary, and like where we've plucked them from, Lord only knows. And it's really just a lot of the times for clout and image. You say, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire by this stage, my net worth is going to be this by this stage, I'm going to be married at this age, and you think that God is just going to come and be like, I bet, say nada, and just grant you all your wishes like one genie, even though it says he knows the plans he has for you. Jeremiah 29:11.
Yeah.
As in, not that you know the plans you have for yourself. So I'm not saying like absolutely relinquish all your life plans, because obviously goals, planning, preparation, aspiration is good, but just don't stick so doggedly to what it is that you think you need for yourself. Or, and if you are, like, at least examine where those ideas came from and
Yeah.
why, and whether it's really about honoring and edifying God, or whether it's about you and your image, you know? Because me personally, like, I've spoken to quite a few guys, especially these young corporate guys who are kind of, doing their thing. And I'm like, cool, yeah, we love to see it's like secure your bag, that's you, grind, hustle, whatever. But I think it's very dangerous, or like somewhat problematic, to just be like outright, I'm not going to start dating until I'm 26. I'm not going to get married until I'm 30. Because number one, where did you pluck that number from? Do you know what your mindset is going to be at that age? Do you think you'll be mature enough? Will your house even be in order like you say it is by 30? You know what I mean? Second of all, like, do you think that at that exact age, God will just place a woman in front of you, she'll fall from the sky, and she'll be just ready to marry you and produce children,
Yeah.
like just like that for you? And thirdly, do you think that you're going to be emotionally mature at that age, ready for a relationship, having spent the last 30 years of your life avoiding women?
Oh.
Because I don't know about you guys, but I watched Indian matchmaking, and one guy in particular comes to mind. My guy, they asked him what he wants in a wife, and he said, I don't know, ask my mum. This guy was 26, had never had a girlfriend, nothing. Now they're coming to do matchmaking for him because he had no social skills. This is what you want for your life? That's fine. Go make your millions. Make your millions and see if your house will be in order regardless.
Oh yeah, no, it's true. It's really true. Like, I think because we all want we all want companionship or most of us do. I can speak for the three of us. We all want companionship, and we want to spend the rest of our lives with someone. And so, like, we had this idea of like what adult us, although we're already sort of becoming adults, which is crazy, like what adult us would look like. And we have like an image of a person, even if we can't see their face, but like what they'll be, and we hope like their financial status and their personality and all of that. And like having to take the time to be like, well, actually, what does God actually say for me in this season right now? Because I think, again, I'm not sure if I mentioned this during this recording or before. I went to Barcelona with one of my closest friends last September, and we had like quite long conversations about like just what we're quite young. We were 19. Well, I was 19. She was just about to turn 19 as well. Just about like what we wanted for our lives and relationship stuff, and it was just like that we looked at the parable of the 10 virgins and how 5 were essentially prepared and had their oil all together, and how other 5 were spending their oil and basically had it burning when it didn't need to be burning, and when the bridegroom came, they were not ready. And as we were pondering that passage, what sort of came to our spirits, or what we realized, was that we see that oil or that time as various things, but that oil can very much be emotional intelligence. That oil can be your time, your money, your heart, your emotions. And just because God has said not yet doesn't mean that it's time for us to entertain all sorts of like just talk to people for the sake of talking to people. And that's something that Lord, if I tell you all the stuff that's happened in a year's time, you'll even be laughing. You will be laughing. You'll be laughing. Because it's crazy when it's like God's like, oh, this is not for you right now. And this different sorts of people, literally, but God, and the different people who will just be cropping up out of the woodworks, fam.
Woodworks. Speaking Spanish.
Literally.
I'm learning French.
Asking to do Bible study.
The thing is, guys, she's not lying. There are many stories we could literally disclose here, but for other people's embarrassment,
it's actually only even MH. This kind of crazy stuff doesn't happen to us. It's just MH. Just be attracting.
We need to talk about this because people take Christian girls who maybe are not like super like, I don't know, online, or just regular Christian baby. They think we're dumb. I think that's one thing that like people or men maybe sometimes feel like maybe we're just foolish. So like if you come to me on,
do you know what it is?
Let's do a Bible plan. I'm gonna be like, yes.
I don't think it's that. I just think that people know first and foremost. I'm just gonna be completely honest, that the pool of eligible men for dating is small. And they know that the pool of eligible Christian men is even smaller. So they think the fact that they're Christian in itself should be a reason why you should even be like, oh, yeah, let's do, you can take me out. Let's do Bible study, as if you shouldn't have other standards. As in, they don't know, being Christian is even the minimum. That's the benchmark. That's the baseline.
Literally, that literally gets you into the room, not even on the table.
Elevate you. It's not even something that should elevate you. Like, no, it's
true. I also want to say that before you even start dating, you need to understand yourself. Like, you can understand yourself while dating at the same time, but at least need to know, like, what are your dislikes, what are your likes, what are things that you can't tolerate.
Right.
You need to have like your definite no's, your like maybes, and like your what you would prefer in a person, because that makes it, one, easier to like weed out people, and two, like you actually have something that you're looking for, and that's not only like extended to other people but you yourself. Like, am I someone that snaps? Am I someone that gets angry easily? Am I someone that doesn't like to be spoken to certain ways? Am I someone that speaks a little bit quietly and likes gentle people and don't like people disturbing my peace? I think it'll be important to know that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because even like looking back, I think for a long time I was just like wanting to like talk to people just for the sake of it, or because I thought it would like make me feel attractive or whatever, if like, you know what I mean? But even just getting into things anyhow. But even now, if I look back to even year 13 to now, the way like my preferences have shaped or my non-negotiables have shaped, I'm just thinking, God forbid if I'd actually got into something, into one of them talking stages, and was, had dated that person, now realizing there's a lot of things which I do not like, cannot tolerate.
Yeah.
sometimes it's actually like for your own good that things don't work out, because you learn from it and you grow yourself, and you might even come to it in a year and be like, wow, imagine me liking that person, because it's happened to me a lot. I look back and I think, girl. Anyways, child, my glasses prescription has got stronger since then, so
She can see clearly now.
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
I think along the lines of what you guys have just said, I agree totally. Especially what Ayanfe said about like having your list. I think, as Wanipa mentioned earlier, like evangelicals like Pastor Mike have taught us, or taught the teacher congregations, to rip up their list, and rightly so, because we come with lists that are. I saw one babe. She wasn't on a Twitter babe. She just happened to be a girl who has Twitter, and she had her non-negotiables written on like post-it notes that she had stuck on her wall.
Oh my gosh!
Almost as if it was like not like an idol, but it's like a constant
little
reminder.
shrine.
Yeah, like this is what I cannot take. This is what I will have. And I mean, I understand, like, of course, we all have our criteria. I have a notes page or somewhere in my diary where I'm just like, yeah, these are the things I'd like in somebody. I don't look at it all the time. Maybe I refer to it twice a year, maybe, if I'm just bored. I mean, that's just me. But I think in terms of discernment in general, I think somebody said on the DMs or something that they wanted us to talk about discernment. I think first there's a difference between like what is a vanity metric when you're looking at a relationship, right, and what is actually like, this is who I am, and this is what my beliefs as a core,
what I stand for.
Yeah, not even just as a Christian, but like, this is how I want to lead my life. These are my passions. This is where I want to be in 25 years. This is how I want to discipline children if I have some, like things like that, because people will have very disparate ideas. I think it was Life from Layfield. They're some of my favorite YouTubers. They make me laugh. And when maybe 3 years ago, they talk about compatibility and how it's so important to be compatible. And that is so true. But in recent videos, they've said that compatibility is not even enough, because I might be compatible for my 20-year-old season. We're both in uni. You both need to get a graduate job. We're trying to pay our savings. If anything, we'd like to be married in the next maybe 5, 6 years. We both have similar backgrounds. But once this is all settled now, what do you expect from me as a wife?
When we grow.
Literally, in 25 years, do you want to be completely retired? Do you want to make a career change? Are you the sort of person who wants to throw yourself into your work until this? Do you prefer to work and then have 2 weeks of an amazing holiday? Or would you rather take less pay? Like, there's so many things to consider. And so there's an importance in discerning, what is truly, like, what is a core belief and what's just a vanity metric.
Right. Like, what's a vital metric? And that's not to say that either you need to have your life figured out now, or they do, or you both need to, like, your whole future definitely needs to align. But like, there's some people who you might not realize now, but there's certain things that they literally won't compromise on. And it's like, how are you even gonna like build a future with someone who has a different idea to you and also is not willing to budge from their very firm ideals? So I think, I definitely agree. It's about more than just, oh, we're both looking for corporate law jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going back to the point that you said about how Christians should be the minimum, I think we see a lot of things where Christian is used as an adjective.
Lord,
let's get into it.
It's used to describe people like Christian men are.
The one I even hate is
women
WOG,
should be
woman of God. First of all, let's dead that. Like, what's it even called?
It's an acronym.
When it's the acronym right now, because WOG, Google it. It's not a good word. As in, golly, WOG, we're not doing that.
And your Christianity is meant to be your identity, not your personality traits.
Yeah.
You have other stuff. Like, what else is there to you? You can't be saying I'm a Christian. So what do you like? Reading the Bible. So what do you do when...
As if you jump down from heaven, fam. You have other stuff that you like. Like, be honest.
As in, your whole banter is just Bible quotes.
And just because you're a Christian and, like, I'm a Christian girl, you're a Christian boy, doesn't mean that we're meant to be together. I was watching a YouTube video, and this girl was in a relationship with a Christian boy, and it was so toxic. Like, he used to get so aggressive, and then when he used to talk to her wasn't like very nice. And the whole time she was like, because he's Christian, blah blah blah, walking in destiny of God, blah blah blah. But then sometimes you don't need to be in that situation.
Right. Because I think a lot of like young Christians are hung up on the idea of like, you don't want to be unequally yoked, whatever the Bible says, so they just kind of get with someone Christian, and that in itself they think is enough. But first of all, like, you can be Christians and have very different beliefs. First and foremost, you can really disagree on some fundamental things. And it's up to you to work out whether you can work them out, but equally sometimes you won't be able to. Also, like, someone just professing to be a Christian, they could be a horrible person in lots of different ways. So for example, that girl you just described, the fact that he's a Christian, and so what, is he really a Christian if he's talking to people anyhow and not really having that kind of godly character? So and I think that's something I've definitely realized. Like, I think when I first kind of started taking my faith more seriously and stuff, and like thinking about a partner or that kind of thing, I'd just be like, trying to shoot my shot with like any Christian boy or whatever. And I just deeped like, it's actually not enough to just be Christian. You could have nothing else in common. The person could be dry as heck. And then what do you do,
Yeah. I think just jumping off of what Ayanfe and you have both said again, like that unfortunate relationship where the boy in that relationship was aggressive. Like, red flags when you're dealing with, we're just going to be approaching this from a Christian perspective. So for me, a red flag, okay, so I'm going to be honest with y'all. Y'all going to get some tea about my life. So I've I hate the term spoken to, and Ayanfe knows this. Like, we share this disgust because we're literally 20, 21 years old. There's no such thing as speaking to. I'm seeing you.
Talking stage. I'm dating you.
We're friends, or you're a stranger, or we're just acquaintances.
Right.
That's
or we're
it.
married. Nah, actually, death to the talking stage.
Literally.
Like, Black people do the talking stage. They have done it to death. Black people will be having year-long talking stages.
Impossible.
No shades.
No, literally no. Well, let me not talk too much, because I'll talk about something impossible, and I'm looking at my life like... So anyway, like, in terms of a Christian perspective of like a quote unquote red flag, I think for me the first big indicator is just the way in which they view religion, and just how they allow it to function within their life, whether it's just like stuff like church, community, the friends that they have, I don't know, just like, there's a way that they allow that to, specifically their social circles. I'm not saying their best friends all have to be Christian. Lord knows my best, not all of my friends are Christian, and even those that are quote unquote Christian are not always, we have different ideas about life, but just the way in which they navigate their social circles, I think that's a big, not a red flag, but that's just something that I look out for. Also, I'm trying to think, my personal experience is limited, so I'm trying to think just in general. Listen to, okay, we live in the UK, or, we have a mainly UK audience. Wherever you're listening from, I'd really, really implore you to listen, not just to your friends and to your family. Okay, actually, before this, I would say, we're adults here. I know people don't like to speak to their family sometimes about their significant other, or there's someone that they're seeing, but I think there's a value in transparency, because the enemy cannot weaponize things that are already in the light. So if you have people who are already aware of the fact that you are seeing somebody or dating somebody, they will be able to hold you accountable as long as you have, of course, given them that authority in your life. Therefore, if you are speaking to someone and your mom, dad, mentor, even your friends are saying, we've noticed this behavior about you, are you sure they're not doing this? Please listen. Do not feel like you need to cut them off, or do not even feel like they're coming on smoke.
Sometimes you'll even be blinded.
Literally, if there's somebody that notices anything, and encourage your friends to be honest with you, like whoever you share this part of your life with, encourage them to be honest with you. But if people are saying, this one is very somehow, or I know, don't just go with what everybody says, I knew him from, or I knew her from XYZ, And she was like, this is when we were in year 9. Please relax. But serious things, like I know of a story of one girl who she was dating this boy, and even the boy's own sister came to her and said, this my brother, yeah, he's not a serious man.
I even know what you're talking about.
He's a very unserious babe. Unserious, and she continued to date him, and it just really was it just spiraled out of control.
And how did it end?
It just did not. In tears, you know. And so that's one thing. That's my big red flag thing. Like, listen to what people have got to say. Yeah.
I think another red flag. This is quite an obvious one, but lying. I do not like people who lie, and it's not even like you'll just be telling me fibs. If your character is inconsistent, if you're a hypocrite, I cannot deal with that. If you're gonna tell me one thing, do it. Like, if you're scared to tell me something because you think it's gonna be out of sync with me, I would rather know the out of sync truth than, because me, I'll always find out. I will always find out. Me that pretty much works part-time for the FBI, the way I have my stalking skills. Connections. I know people who know your dad. Don't lie to me. It's actually impossible. And if I now find out, it's not even I don't even have beef with people. Like, I really think that we're too grown to be having beef at this age. I don't start fights with people, but just know I've remembered, and that's it. You know? It's really it.
Ayanfe, what about you?
I just have lots of things that aren't white flags.
It's true.
I think you should also trust yourself. Because sometimes, you know, when you know like something like doesn't really sit like well, and then you try to compromise.
Right.
And then you look back at it, it's like, I shouldn't have done that anyway, because after a while I'll be like, this is not for me, and then you're just happy it's ended.
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. My question is that obviously the three of us go to Cambridge. I'm not even going to talk about the colorism thing because that's for another episode. But how do you feel? How do you feel that either like going to Cambridge or being a highly ambitious or quote unquote successful woman has impacted your dating life, if at all?
Do you want me to start? I can start, because I've got like 2 things. I think the first thing is, this is not necessarily a dating thing, but it comes into the dating world. I study humanity, so reading and research and vocabulary is just part of my like daily. That's just part of my academic life, and I'm always looking for ways to expand vocabulary and just simple things like that. So I'm not the sort of babe who like have a word of the week and like just use it unnecessarily. But if I know of a word, if I know of a word that's going to encapsulate something that I'm trying to say in a very succinct manner, then I'm going to use it. And I think sometimes people can be a bit intimidated. I don't want to say intimidated because that's not the word, but yes, I guess a little bit intimidated, or feel some have an abject reaction to people who are perhaps, I don't want to say eloquent, but who can be well-spoken in that way. And I think the dating world, I sometimes when I send my messages like to my friends, like a discussion that I've had with someone, they'll be like, oh, you write like, you text like you're writing an essay, because I do, like, I will put however, and I will put like commas and stuff like that. Like, that just is how I text. That just is how I text, especially if we're having like a discussion about something that is important to me, like women's rights or misogyny or colorism or religion or anything like that. So I think in a dating sphere, that means that sometimes people, I feel the need to prove themselves to me, or men feel the need to like prove themselves to me, or like if I say I'm doing something, they'll be like, oh, I'm doing something similar. Like, I can't describe it in a way that I don't want it to sound arrogant, but I think it's just that feeling, that tension of like, don't not be you, or feel like you have to play yourself off as more quote unquote intellectual than you may naturally be, because this is just how I speak about topics that I know of. If you ask me about the corporate world or about finance or business or science, I will be pinned because I don't know anything, and I'll be like, honestly, babe, I can listen to you speak all day about this, but I don't have anything to contribute. The second thing is I think I'm like on in the same page with Nipa when I say I want to be with someone who's my equal. And I think that takes different forms because obviously I'm not really in any financial independent. I haven't reached any real financial independence at this point in my life. But I value again academia and people who know how to be excellent in their field or do well in their field or be committed to their field.
Right.
I'm not saying that I want to. When I say I want to be with somebody who's my equal, I mean my equal in different parts of my life. And I just think what I'm trying to say is someone who will be stimulating to me in whatever aspect of my
Right.
life I am talking about or compatible with me. So, yeah, just like that. So someone who's compatible with me and who can offer that same like mental, emotional stimulation and presence and availability, because I don't want to feel like when I'm having a discussion about something that is important to me, like you feel some
Your
type of
eyes
way
glaze
about it.
over.
Yeah, exactly. And
Right.
that's just because of my own personal like passions and inclinations. There are people who are going to be so passionate about something else, about sport or about business or about something else, and I will have that sort of glazed over reaction because that's just not where I'm. That's not where I'm at. So yeah, I think that's the only hindrance, quote unquote. And then also just like uncles and aunties and that sort of thing, like just being like bride price, you need this, da 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 da, and it's just like, please do not, like, don't try to set me up with your son. Like, I'm not interested. I will never be interested.
No, periods. Periods. Let me not even start talking about bride price because
I know you've had
it's
stories.
still fresh. How about stories?
I definitely agree with you, Mary Hannah, in terms of like someone who can stimulate you, like you can have engaging conversations. And I don't think that is necessarily like specific unis, but I think so. Basically, during like last term, I was talking to this person, like a not talking, but like as a friend. And you know, like the normal like Twitter conversations that go on about like relationships and friendships and stuff. But then I really appreciated that it didn't go into any of the normal Twitter discourse. Like
Right.
I asked very probing, like intriguing questions. Like one of the questions, like why don't boys like to stick up for girls if they know that their friend is treating girls badly? And he said something which was kind of higgy, but the way he the way he like went on to explain it, even though we didn't agree in the end, it was more like I could understand the thought process that goes through that, and just like there's certain things that you don't have to agree on 100%, but when like someone can communicate with you and like really like take you through things, and like that conversation, it was like 2 hours conversation, 2.5, and my brain felt like it felt like it has been used during that
Yeah.
conversation.
Nourished.
Yeah. And it was a really nice conversation as well, like at the end of it,
Right.
which I enjoyed. Being able to communicate with someone kind of on the same level.
Mm, mm. Yeah, for me, I feel like this whole thing of like being someone who's quite like an empowered woman, like I don't know, this whole Miss Independent persona, all of this, I genuinely feel like it intimidates some men.
Mm.
And I'm gonna be honest, I don't want no man who's gonna be intimidated. So it's not that that particularly bothers me, but obviously it does narrow the pool. And then it's kind of like you either get stuck with the boys who are so arrogant that they think that
Oh.
they're gonna be like better than you, whatever, like, or whatever, regardless, or you get the people who are like genuinely couldn't stand to have their wife doing more than them, earning more than them, even earning the same as them,
Mm.
or who have this expectation that eventually you're going to fall off and just become the primary caregiver, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to excel far beyond you, and they kind of have these very traditional ideas of you know how a man and woman should interact. So I do feel that, and it's like it's one of those things where I hate the thought even crossing my mind that I have to like if you guys have seen Think Like a Man, I definitely am the character played by Taraji. I don't know her name in that. And not that I'm necessarily gonna my story will not necessarily end up like hers. But like if you see in the film, it's either that on her first date with this guy, she feels like she can't mention what position she's doing or whatever because that will make her too much like a man, or that it, will intimidate him. But then equally, the person that was able to deal with who she was and what she was doing, who is Morris Chestnut in the film. Shout out to Morris Chestnut, that's my baby for real. Um, he was very much like he just came to the table and all he wanted to talk about was what position he'd been awarded, or it was almost like a competition. So I think finding someone who like accepts who you are, what you're doing, and where you're gonna go, but also doesn't see your relationship as an inherent competition or doesn't feel intimidated by you and your success is very important.
No, it's true. It's true. I've got another question. How do you guys feel about like, I guess I say we have limited experiences, but I mean amongst us as a collective, how do you feel about like guarding your heart, and like what does it mean to like, I guess, be us, like be Christian babes, and like trying to get our lives together and follow purpose and love the Lord and all of that, and like meeting someone new, and like I don't want to say the boundaries that are set in place, but like I mean with 20, 21, I'm not talking about physical boundaries or anything like that. Lord knows. I do not want to even talk about that, please, Lord. But I just mean like in terms of like opening up your heart to someone, how do you think, like when, like I feel like that's something that I'm always just like, I don't know. That's something I've struggled with. Like, so when, I don't know how to frame this. Yeah, so that's just like guarding your heart. Like, what does guarding your heart mean to you? Like for me, I can tell, like you guys know this, I can share with the podcast, like I'm the sort of babe that if you're speaking to me, I will be like, listen, if you're not my boyfriend, you don't get boyfriend privileges. So if I want to turn my phone off and delete like an app, and I don't tell anybody, and you're wondering where I am for the whole day, that's what I'm gonna do, because I did it to you. Like you're not the only person who I was speaking to. Like I was speaking to my friends, and I just decided I didn't want to be on socials for that day. Or like if it's like 11 p.m. or like getting late. I mean, 11's not too late for me, but if it's like 2, 1, 2, 3, like okay, you see, this is a difficult bit. I'm trying to be honest, but my life and my speech, I can't do not always align.
Is it aligning? Is it aligning right now?
In the past, I've made the error of not, for me, guarding my heart in that way, because I like to converse. I'm a better writer than I am speaker. So just texting people or like just having like sort of written conversations, it just suits me better. So getting to know someone via text message is something that just works for me. But then at the same time, like when is the boundary of me being like, okay, you're definitely like getting into my heart and my mind? Like, how do you sift through that? I don't know if that's made sense.
For me, in terms of guarding my heart, I'm definitely a thinker, an overthinker. So I know that if I first meet you and I like you, just know that I've imagined our wedding in my head. Do you know what I mean?
Me too.
Or like I will really read into every little signal. So if you tell me like I'm beautiful, if you use certain adjectives like paying, I can handle. Beautiful, whoa. Oh, you want to break my head, I see. So you want me dead in a ditch. No remorse. And that's the I really read into those kind of things. So for me, honesty is important for me when it comes to guarding my heart. So if I feel myself starting to catch feelings, like I feel like I'm gonna tell you earlier, so that if you don't feel the same, let's just dead this now before I get caught up in those feelings and I run away with them. And also like we're big, I know we're still small, but like we're big 20-year-olds, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to be dilly-dallying, beating around the bush. Like the way 2020 is moving, who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? Do you know what I mean? So I'm just someone who I would rather just be honest. Like I feel like that's why I put so much emphasis on you being honest with me, because for me there's a level of respect to it. So if you're still entangled with someone else and you're gonna lie to me about the scale of the entanglement and I find out later, yes, I'm going to be offended.
No, it's true.
Yes, I'm gonna be mad. You know what I mean? So for me, guarding my heart is total honesty, upfrontness at the point of feeling. Like I really like people who I can just be very open with in terms of friends and relationships, where I can just like tell you something and it doesn't need to turn into an awkwardness afterwards. Like there's people who like, either they've told me they like me or I've told them, I like them. And obviously, because I told you I've always been single, it's never worked out in in tandem at the same time. But we're still cool. We're still friends. We still chill. We hang out, and it's not even a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I think I'm kind the opposite to you guys in terms of like I'm not like a I don't catch feelings.
She does not. She does not.
She
She's
actually
not
doesn't.
lying.
That's the funny thing.
And it's not like oh I'm a heartless type thing. It's just a thing is I have a lot of male friends. I have brothers, whether related to me or not. I know how like I'm used to being around males. I know that they can just talk for no reason and be saying words for no
Ah,
reason.
Oh
that's one I even
Lord.
need to be coached on.
No, period. Me too.
I need some coaching, please.
And the same with you, Wanipa. I very much value honesty, and like I'm quite open person. I just like people that are open.
That must be very nice. In fact.
I think it's quite pessimistic to be honest, but but yeah, I would like to be rude is the thing. So I basically want my life to be a fairy tale.
I want someone to court me. Tosin from my Bible study group just asked me a question on this.
15 minutes.
And she said, why do you think Paul suggests that we should stay single forever to focus on the word? But in Ecclesiastes 4:9, it says that two are better than one. Or does that not apply to relationships? Girl, you can ask Paul.
We talk about this quite often, like the girls and I. The Bible is a word of God. It is God inspired. We don't debate that. However, we must recognize the Bible is literature, and literature has context and writers, and every day the world is showing us that nothing is really fully objective. Keeping that in mind, Paul, I'm believing he was all of the things that he wrote were letters to specific churches for the most part. And so I don't know I can't remember the passage from which Wanipa just asked this question from, but I'm presuming that it's probably is a direct instruction to a specific church, and therefore we don't know what their relationship was in terms of marriages, unions, whether it was polyamorous. There's so many different contexts to consider, and just even the way that, I guess, quote unquote, pagan religions or pagan belief systems treated things like deities and things like fertility and love and all of that can be convoluted in that. So I think just looking at the beginning, like when God said the framework, he created two people. He created two people who needed to be together to work together. So two is better than one. Even at like the very foundation of who God is, there are three beings in one. So I personally feel like while Paul was speaking about, it's better for everyone to be single, I think there's probably a lot of cultural context or relevance to that specific passage.
Yeah, or to that specific church.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. Because a lot of Paul's letters to the churches were kind of trying to squash beef that was happening in the congregation. And like he mentioned so many times, like, let's not dwell on things that don't matter. Let's not dwell on things that are going to cause more problems. I think this was probably one of those things, like maybe there was some drama in the church. And he said, listen, if it's going to cause that many problems, I would rather you would just be single. Because I think there's another point where he even talks about like speaking in tongues, and he said if you're in public and speaking in tongues is gonna confuse people, then worship in a different way. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that that's wrong, but it just means in that specific church, in that context, it was causing an unnecessary issue that was blocking them from the word of God, which was the most important thing.
Yeah. I think Paul as well, it was like be single like me. Obviously, the Bible was like God breathed and everything. I think at that point, Paul was talking from his experience and what he is doing. Imagine if he had a wife, like that would not have been possible.
If my man is being thrown in jail left and right, am I that ride or die? Girl, I don't know about that struggle, love. No, it's even true. Paul was on madness, like in a good way, but like his lifestyle probably just wasn't fitting for a wife or children or anything, or even too many friends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Yeah.
really just Paul for you.
So thanks for listening, guys. I hope we got to answer some of your questions. And if you have any more questions, be sure to fill in our Google form. If you are a part 2 of this, let us know, and we'll try and get you guys more engaged in our upcoming topics as well. So, and we would love to hear your feedback. So, tweet us, Instagram us, Facebook us, share our podcast with your friends and loved ones. And yeah.
That's it from us, guys. We hope you enjoyed it.
And also, if anyone's in a situationship, entangled, in a failing talking stage, we'll be praying for you.
Yeah.
God doesn't want that
Send
for you.
us
Let
your
me just
prayer
say.
points.
He really doesn't. That's not your portion in the mighty name
Asshole.
of Jesus Christ.
Like, our God is not a God of confusion. He's on a clarity. So if you're confused,
they're not
ladies,
hearing
time to
you.
go.
You might
It's
have to
literally time
will
to
that
go.
one up. Period. It's really one of them, sis. Plenty more fish in the sea, if I'm being perfectly honest. The red flags are usually a sign of danger.
Run. No.
Fast.
Fast.
Literally. Okay, guys, we out for real, but love you. Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.